A scary situation in Southern California at a popular card show as a dealer is jumped, beaten, and robbed by 3 masked men as he is packing up from the show at the end of the evening. What does this mean with card show security going forward, and how can you keep yourself safe? We're going to talk about it next. Hello, sports card investors, and welcome to another episode of Cards on the Table. Teapot, Carter, we got a tough one. We got to dive into right off the bat here at the beginning of today's show. These are the types of topics that I hate talking about. They seem to be coming up more often these days, and we got a bad one to talk about right here. So a few years ago, I spent the summer in Southern California and spent a lot of time in the card scene out there. And a lot of collectors said, oh, you've got to go to the regional SoCal card shows. They happen all the time around the greater Los Angeles area. They're popular card shows. I went to one of them. It was a cool card show, spent some time walking around, talking to all of the dealers. A lot of people consider these shows to be kind of their regular local show. That the location of these shows moves around between different hotel conference centers throughout the greater Los Angeles area. And one of them is actually happening just about every weekend during the busy months. And it was this past Saturday's show, which was taking place at a DoubleTree Hilton in Whittier, California, just outside of Los Angeles, where as the show ended, a TCG dealer, his name is Ken, he goes by Jansun TCG on Instagram. He had packed up his TCG cards from the show. He walked out to his car. His car was kind of far away from the hotel because he said when he got there that day, the parking was already very crowded, so he had to park kind of far away. And he gets out to his car and he opens up his trunk. He's starting to load up his cards and his card cases in. And when he's about halfway through of loading his car up, the car that was parked right next to his had 3 men sitting inside the car. And the 3 of them pop out of the car, they're masked, and they jump him. One of them tackles Ken. The other grabs his card cases away, and then the third comes over and starts beating him while he's on the ground, starts plummeting him. And they grab the 3 masked men, grab all of his stuff. Ken actually tries to fight back, which he says in retrospect was a mistake. He shouldn't have tried to fight back. He should have just let him take the cards. But he was trying to fight for his cards. He was trying to hold his inventory. He had a lot of very valuable Pokemon cards. Individual cards that were worth thousands of dollars per card, and he had a bunch of them. And so he was trying to fight back, but they had him on the ground. They were beating him. And eventually they grabbed all of his stuff, threw it in their car, and peeled out of the parking lot. And, people called the police. The police came a couple minutes later, but by then, the guys were gone. They sped away. It was in a black Nissan Altima with the license tag hanging. I assume maybe that means it was not the real tag, or I don't know why the license tag would have been hanging, but that's part of, what Ken related. Thankfully, Ken is okay. He did sustain some injuries, but he has said he's doing now physically okay. He's seen a doctor. And he is undeterred by this in the sense that he said he's going to continue to work to build his TCG business and wants to continue to be, a dealer in the future. He also praised the organizer of the regional SoCal Cards and Collectibles show to say that they've been, very supportive throughout this. Now, the show itself posted a statement saying that safety is their highest priority. They're going to update their security procedures and also their procedures around load in and load out at future shows to help prevent this type of stuff. I do want to take a moment to put on the screen here again the cards that were taken. So these are on the screen right now. If any of you happen to recognize or see any of these cards floating around a card show in the future, popping up on eBay, anything of that nature, these in particular, these cert numbers for these cards, certainly please reach out to the dealer who again goes by jansun.tcg on Instagram to let him know. What's particularly scary about this situation Ken believes that it was all pre-planned. Ken believes that the robbers, knew where his car was, parked next to his car intentionally, knowing he was going to come out, waited there for him to come out, waited until he was halfway through, load in, already had masks on, jumped out, the whole thing, right? So we talked about these crime stories at card shows before, Teapot. This is another one. This one's a little different. In some ways, this one feels scarier because it involves a lot of physical violence, where some of the others have just involved people breaking into cars or taking a case from a dealer and running off. Here you got physical violence coming into play. What are your thoughts on this situation?
It's definitely a scary situation. I think what's really concerning is, like, no matter how much security a card show organizer has, or like he mentioned, the show organizer said, we're going to try to do more with load in and load out. Like, you're going to always have people who are just attended the card show with their Zion cases or whatever, just going back to their cars. Like, they're not thinking about this process. I get a little paranoid when I have any amount of value of cards with me and I'm walking back to my car from a card show, especially if it's in a parking garage where it's just a little more like, you're not quite out in the open as you might be just in an open parking lot like we have out here. It's more likely that somebody's just going to jump out and try to get something from you. So, I think being vigilant, being circumspect about what's around you is really important. I don't know if the car was running or, what's going on, but like, you wouldn't expect that at the same time that the car next to you, you might see some people inside that they're going to like jump out and jump you. That's a terrible situation overall. I was at Culture Collision recently, just this last weekend, and I had brought quite a few cards that I was planning to send to a couple of different companies, and they didn't turn out to be at the show. I thought I was going to be able to do drop-offs, and they weren't there. So I had to go bring them in, and then I had to bring them back to my car, and my hands were full. Like, I had my backpack, I had my hands full. Somebody could have, just targeted me the same way, and there's not, probably not much I could do about it. I didn't even have anybody else to like go back to my car with me. It just wasn't an option. So I don't really know what else you can do about those situations other than just to be really, vigilant. I suppose if you have enough, value, we've talked about like hiring private security and things, but many of these dealers it's not on their mind. It kind of reminds me of insurance in the sense of like, not auto insurance, but like, unfortunately, life insurance or other insurances that people, even collectible insurance that people don't think about until it's too late, and then they're like, dang, I wish I would have done X, Y, Z. That's probably the same thought process. Ken's gonna keep playing that over in his mind, like, what could I have done to prevent this situation? Really unfortunate. I'm sorry for him.
Yeah, it's sad. Carter, what did you think when you heard about the story?
This is pretty similar to, I think it was a bullpen, LA, when a breaker was leaving in the middle of the night, and there were guys that were waiting outside the back door. And that guy got jumped and actually got really harmed. So I'm happy Ken's okay. This is just overall a pretty poor situation. I hope that this inspires a lot of show dealers and a lot of show organizers to do more. I think if we can do more, you can be a little bit more preventative. The amount of card shows that I've been that I felt like there's been zero security even inside is pretty concerning. I've been to some big shows where I've seen no presence of security. So I hope, as the industry is advancing, values are going up, there's more attention towards it, there's more foot traffic. I'm hoping this is inspiring dealers to be a little bit more aware of their surroundings, and also for dealers to advocate to show organizers. That's the best thing you can do, is tell show organizers, hey, security is important to us. It's not just important to us, but it's important to the people that are attending, that are also walking out in the parking lot, right? So especially in senses like this where it seems like he parked far away and maybe these venues are a little difficult and there's not a lot of like central parking, we definitely want to make sure that people are supported and make sure that they feel safe. So, but overall, it's crushing to see this happen. I hope it's not a continuous pattern that we see moving forward.
Yeah, I went to the Culture Collision show you talked about this weekend. They did have a police officer there who I noticed was walking around at one point, armed, police officer. I went to Collecticon this weekend in Atlanta as well. They did have a police officer walking around, but at both shows, that protection didn't necessarily extend out to the parking lot or where you would park. And I actually had a similar experience at Collecticon where I had to park actually very far away from that show. The first day that I went to it, because there were other events going on in the area, and I probably walked maybe close to half a mile to get to the show.
Collecticon,
with carrying cards and everything like that, and there was no protection out there, and the card show organizer can only protect so much ground. They can't. They can protect the show itself, and I think it's really important they're doing that. Now I guess they got to think about the parking lots. it's hard. Like, I think they can do that to a degree, but then also when you get in these situations where it's like a sprawling hotel parking lot and there's on all sides of it, and I don't know that there's a 100% solution other than, you're probably better off if you go with a group of people.
Yeah.
I think if you're a dealer, you probably shouldn't be loading by yourself, in a parking lot with nobody else around. It's unfortunate that type of thing happens, but I don't know. Stay safe out there, everybody. It's the reality we live in now with cards being as valuable as they are. So, all right, let's switch topics to a little bit of a happier one. So this is big news, guys. Arena Club, they have just dropped, and I literally mean just, as you are watching this video, it just went live on Arena Club, their brand new sports card investor SCI slab packs. We did these a couple of months ago. They were actually a big hit. They sold out very quickly because, you see these Arena Club slab packs. We advertise these on the show each week. And a lot of times the slab packs the big hits are like Jaden Daniels and, Victor Wembanyama, like up and coming stars. That's what's really liquid and hot in the market right now. But we said, let's do something a little different. Let's do Arena Club slab packs that have a lot of established veterans, vintage, 90s inserts, cards that are more stable, hopefully, in the sports card market, more established, less cards that are going to go up and down every week due to volatility, more cards that you would want to invest in. And so we did a slab pack a couple months ago. It was a huge success, sold out very quickly. So today, right now, is the launch of 2 more SCI slab packs. There's a blue edition for $300. There is a gold edition for $800. Teapot. The grail that I picked for the blue edition, the $300, is a 1952 Bowman Mickey Mantle PSA 6.5 pop 30, less than 400 with a higher pop of that card. And then the grail that I picked for the $800 pack, I did go a little more modern for this one. I went the 2018 Kaboom Tom Brady PSA 10. Yeah. But it's the first year of Kaboom. Yeah. It's Tom Brady's first Kaboom ever. It's PSA 10. It's Pop 45. Yeah. So if you're going to go Kaboom Ultra Modern, it's about the best possible, safest one you can get, especially in terms of football Kabooms, right? By the way, promo code SCI for 20% off your first slab pack purchase. If you want to get either of these and you haven't gotten an Arena Club slab pack before, promo code SCI. What do you think of the 2 grails I picked?
I think the great choices. I mean, I voted for the 2018 Kaboom Tom Brady as one of the 25 most iconic cards of this millennium, I guess, this century. So great. I mean, you can't go wrong with either of those cards. Really good choices.
Okay, guys, those are live right now. Download the Arena Club app or go to arenaclub.com. And then once again, it's promo code SCI for 20% off your first purchase at Arena Club. Let's jump into something that's happening in the card world in the digital sense, right? We talk about physical cards here on the show, although in the top 5 the other day, I mentioned for the first time NFL All Day. There have been a lot of headlines recently about different types of digital cards and collectibles setting all-time records. The Panini blockchain in particular has been very, very hot. Collectors have already spent $7.1 million on Panini blockchain digital cards during the month of September so far. And this was actually as of a few days ago. I'm pulling some of this from an article on Collect. And so as of their reporting a few days ago, it was over $7.1 million, which had already surpassed April's total. Yeah. And the average transaction price has been jumping a lot. You had a recent high record sale of Caitlin Clark's Green Kaboom 1-of-1 NFT, which sold for $175,000 on the Panini blockchain platform. By the way, the physical version of the card sold at Golden this past weekend for $341,600. So the NFT version of the Caitlin Clark Kaboom sold for over half as much as the physical version of the Caitlin Clark 1-of-1 Green Kaboom. That's wild. We've also had 3 other NFTs sell for $50K plus and 20 sell for $10K plus just in the last week as of when that Collect article was written. Digital cards are surging, Teapot. Are you a believer? Is this a trend, or is this just another fad that is going to have its moment and then fade back away?
I would like to know on the Venn diagram, like how much overlap there is between physical card collectors and digital card collectors. That's what would be really interesting to me, because I like physical cards so much that digital cards don't draw me in. I have way too many interests out here, almost in every single row in the store, to like then need another distraction. It's the same reason why I don't get super into memorabilia and signed balls and things like that, because I just don't need another thing tempting me to get super interested and down one of those other rabbit holes. At the same time, like, I know there's a lot of cynicism around digital assets and NFTs and things, but there's obviously a huge demand for it at the same time, and some people really believe in it. It's undeniable that the world that we live in now is becoming increasingly more and more digital by the day. Pokemon TCG Pocket was doing at its peak $8 million a day when it like first released. So there's people, now that's a game too, there's utility to it in that sense, and it doesn't have one-of-ones and things in it, a little bit of a different dynamic, but this whole digital world, it's just increasing. And you got Elon Musk talking about wanting to Neuralink people up and connect them to the cloud and all kinds of stuff. It sounds like, science fiction, but they've done it, with people to help people who had motor skills find motor skills and do things. I don't know where this is headed. I don't know where the digital world, is headed. It feels like it's headed to like a fully digital. There's a guy in Japan offering to like literally plug people into a matrix inside of like a biodome where you could just live in a virtual world, like already selling spots and there's people signing up. So I don't know. I love to read the comments on this particular topic, know what people think about having digital assets. At least it doesn't take up space, Like you can look at it at any time, but I can do that too with market movers and take a picture of my cards and put them in there. So
Carter, first thing that came to mind, we can't even get our Wi-Fi to work.
No.
How are people living in a digital world when our Wi-Fi doesn't even work here? You go to the bathroom at the airport. Do you know how many of the water dispensers you have to put your hand underneath until water actually comes out of one?
Yeah.
How are we hooking people up into these digital? I'm not sure about that. But I do believe the traction around digital cards. It is an actual thing. Carter, what do you think about it?
I love it. I know.
Do you have any?
No, I don't. Oh. No, I don't. I actually want to get into it though. This is like really interesting. Now, I actually think we should open Cards HQ in the metaverse now. That's what I think we should do.
Instant gratification.
So I think if you want to experience Cards HQ online, I think we should get into virtual reality, so you can actually walk through Cards HQ from wherever you want. So that's my next business idea there. No, but there's demand. I'm not an arguer. When there's demand and there's an ecosystem for it, there's people wanting it. I agree with the Venn diagram. I think there's two different collectors. I don't know anybody personally that's in this. If you know me and you're into this, DM me on Instagram because I want to know. Because
there's a lot of people on Twitter.
Right.
Look at my tweets yesterday after I did a segment on NFL All Day.
Yeah.
People are all tweeting about it. So I mean, there's definitely a collector base.
I remember a lot of my buddies getting into NBA Top Shot. Those guys, a lot of my buddies that were doing that were not card collectors. And I know that's not card specifically, but I know there's demand for it. I know people like it. I know some of this, like you said, a lot of this has fallen off, but there's demand for it. Like there's actually desire for it. So I think it's here to stay. I think people should pay attention to it because I think it could be a driver in our market, and potentially we could probably see more crossover between collectors and these buyers sooner rather than later.
Can't wait till we get those little physical screens showing the NFTs, and we have them right there in our football aisle for NFL All Day.
Yeah.
Get them right there.
There's a lot more. There's a lot you can do with digital stuff that you can't with a physical thing.
It's cool.
Animations and all kinds of stuff.
Different thing. But it's neat to see where it all goes, for sure.
Put Teapot in the metaverse.
Let's go back into the physical world for a second, though, guys, and let's talk about the Messi sale that happened recently. This one was crazy. $1.5 million. A collector paid $1.5 million through Fanatics Collect private sales network to obtain a copy of the 2004-2005 Panini Mega Cracks Messi rookie card in PSA 10, setting an all-time high record, not just for that card, but for any soccer card in general. Only 20 PSA 10s exist of that card, and the price has escalated quickly. A PSA 10 sold for $336,000 back in 2021, which was right when Teapot and I were yelling at the cameras, go buy Messi because Messi's going to explode at some point as card collecting starts to expand throughout Europe. Well, that $336,000 sale became an $825,000 sale a couple of months ago, then a $1 million sale, then a $1.1 million sale, and now a $1.5 million sale. All four of those most recent sales have happened in the last 60 days. So you've seen 4 copies of this sell over the last 60 days, now all the way up to $1.5 million. Teapot, is now still the time to buy Messi, or has everybody's window passed and the market is a little bit too overheated?
Do you know the 2 players in our entire database, market movers, all sports and non-sports, the 2 players who are up the most of anybody? I guess it's not non-sports, all sports.
Messi and Ronaldo.
Messi's 1. No, Lamine Yamal is number 2.
Lamine Yamal.
Messi's up 211% in the last year on all of his cards, and Yamal's up 181% across all cards. These mega cracks are up like way more significantly than that. So that says something about kind of where soccer's headed and where those cards are getting a lot of attention. Private sales are interesting. I think it's a good thing, a really good service that a lot of these big auction houses help broker private sales. That's a good thing. I'd want something like that if I were searching really high-end cards. I also don't put a ton of stock into those sales. It's just between 2 people. Now you could say, well, the same thing could exist if somebody just puts a really high price as a fixed price and somebody says, I'm going to buy it. Okay, maybe, but private sales, even when professionally brokered, I don't think they're entirely reliable, like in the same way. There's nothing to say that the person but I'm not saying this is what happened, but the person who bought the card could say to the person who was selling the card, I'm going to give you $1.5 million. We're going to get this deal done, and then you're going to give me a portion of that back after we finish the transaction to make it look like an inflated sales comp.
That's why we don't report on private sales and market movers.
Yeah, we'll talk about them, but they don't have the same level of credibility. So
easy to manipulate, and has been manipulated before. Some of the other data platforms have had manipulated private sales in their data that they've had to remove after it was discovered that manipulation took place.
Right. So I just think it's a noteworthy sale. That card's on a rocket ship. How high it can go, I don't know. There's obviously a limited supply. All the grades of that card are up significantly over the last year, and the charts like this, especially recently. So. It's got a lot of momentum. Messi's hot, Yamal's hot, soccer's hot, World Cup's coming.
Is there still a window for this, or should you be cautious?
We're not even in 2026 yet, guys.
Man.
Like, we're still living in 2025.
You bought that card, didn't you?
Oh, totally. Yeah, yeah. When I could have bought it for 1.1 or 1.2 a week earlier. Right. All right. So, I agree with the personal sales aspect of it, but I think what this shows as well is, at the top end of the market on these cards that are super desirable and super rare, there's so much demand right now. And when these cards become available, there are buyers buying anywhere they can, whether it's a personal sale or whether it's on an auction house. There's people hunting down these cards and trying to source them, and they're just not always available. So when they are, they're paying top dollar or they're bidding higher, and that's why we're seeing these numbers go up, and up. So I'm not surprised by it. I don't think this is the peak for soccer. And I think as these cards become more scarce, and when they do come up once in a while down the road, we're going to see these numbers a lot higher.
Yeah, could be. I feel like it's a little hard for me to with where these numbers have gone right now. I think you got to get a little creative in where you look for your soccer investment, perhaps at the moment. But it's certainly an impressive run to see, without a doubt. All right, let's end the show today on a little bit of a card screw up. Actually, a pretty major card screw up. So we all love, well, we don't all love, some of us don't love, but a lot of us love downtowns. The case hit, although it's not I'm not sure it's really a case hit anymore. They become a lot more common. But the card that many covet in the football card world especially is the downtown. And we've got 2025 Donruss, which is hitting shelves. And Teapot, you should be thrilled with the Detroit Lions that there is a Calvin Johnson downtown in 2025 Donruss. The Calvin Johnson, the Megatron downtown. What an awesome collectible card.
Such a good photo of him.
Well, that's where the problem lies. It's not actually Calvin Johnson on the card. It's actually Brandon Pettigrew.
Yeah.
Remember him?
I do.
Yeah, you remember him too.
Yeah.
He's another
Somewhat fondly. He was okay.
He was all right. Brandon Pettigrew was good. He had some good games. I think he was on my fantasy team for like half a season one year, but he was no Calvin Johnson. I'll tell you that. He was no Calvin Johnson, yet he is appearing on the Donruss card. So does this, in your opinion, Teapot, harm the interest in value of the Calvin Johnson downtown that Panini made this pretty colossal mistake? Or does it actually help the interest in value in this downtown? What do you think?
I want to know if there's an Uptowns, plural, which is what they put on the cards of Charles Rogers as Calvin Johnson or something too. You got to have the yin and yang. At this point, like the comment on every time this stuff surfaces is just Panini has officially mailed it in. We could talk every week. There's something like this, some big snafu that it's gotten to the point where I'm having a very hard time believing they're not just doing it. Somebody's not doing it on purpose. Some group of people are just trolling us at this point, going, all press is good press. This will get us into the press. It'll get people talking about downtowns, and then we'll laugh and mock as people pay Calvin Johnson prices for a picture of Brandon Pettigrew on a downtown card that is not a case hit, that is massively overproduced, and I just don't know what else you can say about it at this point. It's when Wemby had the next day autos that came out, but they didn't actually have the autos, so it was just a blank spot.
It said no autograph.
And people were paying like $560 for that card raw with no auto on it because it's the next day. I can hear Blez's voice still ringing in my ears about how that's the best card you could ever buy, and just talking about that. We're being trolled. We're being trolled.
Okay. I don't know if it's quite that bad. Topps has made these mistakes before as well. Jackson Merrill's first Bowman card has a photo of somebody, not Jackson Merrill, on the card, right? I mean, isn't that the case? There's been a few of these going back to the 80s. Yes. These types of errors were common, but sometimes, what Teapot's saying, often in the 80s, these errors were done intentionally to draw more interest in the card market in general. What do you think, Carter?
I think this card belongs in the Sports Card Hall of Fame.
Okay.
That's how I feel about it. The fact that it's a downtown, one of the most desired card types in the hobby today. And Brandon Pettigrew was a unit. I mean, that guy was huge.
He was a big boy.
So I'm I don't think this drives any price. I think the first couple sales go a little crazy, and you're like, what the heck? And then it goes down.
I bet people will pay for it.
I think they will at first, and then, next year's set releases, or there won't be next year, I guess, but later down the line, I don't think people are going to care. They're going to be buying more older downtowns. People are going to realize that. The downtowns are going to be so heavily printed this year in Donruss and Optic that I think these ones are going to get a little bit forgotten, and people are going to really target the older ones here pretty soon. So, and I think they should already.
I think you're right about that comment in general. That the investment opportunity right now is with the first year of downtowns, the second year of downtowns, not the.
And they need to be looking stuff now, because once these sets are done,
people are going to go back.
Demand's going to go crazy.
Agreed.
How big?
We've already seen it with like the 2013 kabooms have all really escalated in the market recently. Right. So we've already seen it.
People pay big money for the 2000 Topps traded Miguel Cabrera card. That's not really him.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these like that.
So an interesting perspective on this. So Reeves, my son, said to me last night, he goes, Dad, did you see the Calvin Johnson downtown? That's actually Brandon Pettigrew. And I said, yeah. I said, I saw the story about that. He's like, we need to buy some. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because if Panini corrects the error, then that error version of the card is going to become super valuable because everybody's going to want the error version. And I'm like, he's like, it's going to be like that guy in the late 80s with the bad words on the bottom of his bat, the Billy Ripken. I'm like, okay, he's not wrong. That is precisely what happened in the 1980s, where they would have an error card, sometimes intentionally, the Frank Thomas no-name card, and then they would correct it, and then everybody wanted the error version because now that's the rare version that everybody wants because it got corrected, right? Now, I don't know that Panini is ever going to correct this. They haven't. I don't think that Panini has ever corrected anything. I think Panini, I mean, I'm just being honest. I think Panini makes a mistake and then they just let the mistake roll. Like it rolls and rolls and rolls.
With no comment.
So I'm not sure they're going to correct it. They'll probably correct the optic version of it, I guess. But I don't think they're going to correct this version of it probably. But he is right that if they said, halt the presses, our mistake was discovered, and they changed the image, then he's right that these Brandon Pettigrew versions of it will probably become insanely expensive.
I would love if the optic version's the exact
The
same.
optic version's going to come out with a picture of Calvin Johnson and his fingers AI morphed like Caitlin Clark's were in her downtown card, like that. And then they'll just laugh at us about that card. I've got a video coming out in a few weeks that you guys are really going to like about kabooms and downtowns. So stay tuned for that.
All right. Stay tuned for that, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. Actually, where you should go is you should go right now to Arena Club app, or arenaclub.com. Get one of those new SCI slab packs. Promo code SCI for 20% off your first order. They will sell out quickly, so go check them out now. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon with our next episode. Take care.